Hello everybody, thanks for watching Jeff and Micah's 5th Appalachian Trail video. On this video we go from Dix Creek Gap in Georgia all the way down to Rock Gap in North Carolina. And yes, there were bears along the way. The first night after leaving Dix Creek Gap, we had planned on going about 7 miles, but the campsite that we got to was full, so we had to keep hiking. And so we made it that night all the way to Bly Gap, which is where Georgia ends and North Carolina begins. And here we are approaching the North Carolina border. The tree there marks the line. Georgia is done. About 1/10 of a mile past that line is the Bly Gap campsite. It's where we stopped for the night, right about sunset. This is the famous gnarled tree. Visibility the next day was not real impressive. We hiked about 8 miles that day, and we started seeing these signs for bear management area. We got to the Standing Indian Shelter where we made camp. Had to dry out all of our tent stuff from the night before actually setting it up for the night. Had a beautiful sunset and was ready to get a good night's sleep. But that didn't last long. At about 1:30 in the morning, we heard somebody yelling bear and clapping their hands. So we got up to investigate, and one of the bags that was in the middle of camp was opened by a bear. And apparently he had sat there for a little while and cleaned out every one of the bags of food. And so this was probably about 1:45 in the morning. This first victim's bag, the guy was from Athens, Georgia, and he was doing some section hiking, but the bear got all of his food. So we gave him a little bit of food in the morning. He was heading backwards a mile to head back to town. This was another time at night we had gotten up because we had heard some noise and somebody started yelling, and we didn't go far back to investigate, but the bear had, we found out in the morning, gotten another person's bag that was way off in the back. It turns out the bear had pulled down the whole limb to get the bag. This blue bag that you see there, that was our food. I was checking to make sure it was still there. This one here was another victim whose bag was hanging up in camp. And this was about 4:30 in the morning. This guy was sleeping in the shelter. He heard the bear get the bag, and so he was able to get up and scare it off. It did not get all of his food or his beverage. Shelter's like right there. There's Reese up there. We found out in the morning that this was the fourth bag that the bear had tried to get. You can see the claw marks on the tree, and he had hung it correctly, so the bear wasn't able to get it down. Our bag was one of the few lucky ones that survived the night. In total, we think the bear came into camp about 5 times. This was the side of the first bag that we had taken. The bag's still up there. And that's where everybody was camping. It's right over there. Where Micah is there, where we were camped. Shelter. So the bear was right in the middle of camp. So this is where the second bear bag or food bag was taken by the bear. The bag's still hanging in the tree there. And you can see how close it is to the shelter. And in case you're wondering, that is not an approved bag to put your food in or how to hang it. A little bit of wrappers left where the bear got into it. After a night of a lot of excitement and very little sleep, we packed everything up and started hiking again. These beautiful long distance views is what makes it all worthwhile. After a little bit of rain in the morning, it finally cleared up in the afternoon. And we were actually able to make one of our longest days at just over 11 miles. After a long day of hiking and trying to get out of bear country, we finally made it to Betty's Creek Gap, where we made camp for the night. That night it started raining a little after midnight, and it didn't let up most of the day. When we stopped to get water, we looked over and saw Bigfoot watching us from a distance. The climb to get to the top of Albert Mountain was only 3/10 of a mile, but it was straight uphill. And again, we were rewarded with spectacular views. At the top is a fire tower where we met up with Mark and Woodchip, a couple hikers who we had been at camp with the night before. Mark was one that lost all of his food, and Woodchip was the lucky one whose the bear could not get. We had cell service on top of the mountain, so we looked up and noticed that it was going to be in the low 30s that night, and we were soaking wet. So we made arrangements to get picked up at Rock Gap, which was about 6 miles away. The town of Franklin runs a shuttle to the Rock Gap during the day, but we knew we weren't going to be able to make it by the last pickup. Luckily, we were able to get a hold of Joan Gertler, who lives in Franklin, and her husband preaches there. Her and John have helped us on previous failed hiking trips where they've had to come pick us up before.
Yeah, I'll turn it off before I climb it.
In case you're wondering, I made it over that tree very gracefully. Once in town, we were able to resupply for the next leg of our journey. Micah's feet has still been giving her trouble, so we found a store called Outdoor 76. They're very helpful with finding a better pair of shoes for her. This is pair of shoes number 3 for the trail. Like and subscribe to our channel so that you can get more updates on our journey north. Only 2,089 miles to go. Thanks for watching.